Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Idiosyncratic Fables, where my whole premise is that everybody has a story to tell, and I want to hear yours. So, April came and went, I dare say, faster than February did, as we all know February does, the little stinker. But April went by so fast for good reason because I was so busy, both in studio and out. A lot of projects that came in, a lot of projects that, I gave my voice to. Did not spend a lot of time writing, though I wanted to. I'm pretty sure I'll hop back on that this coming month of May. And then to wrap it up, my family and I went on a much needed vacation to go visit some friends of ours that live on the coast, literally right off the coast of Lake Michigan. Stayed at their house, had some great food, watched some great movies, and just relaxed, which that's the way vacation is supposed to be. One thing I mentioned in my last episode was that I think I mentioned in my last episode. If not, here's the first time I'm mentioning it. Month of April here in the Cedar Rapids metro area was the first ever Cedar Rapids Fashion Month. I believe headlined or sponsored by 237 Collective Studios. They're still new to me, so I'm still learning their name. Went to all three events, and my wife and kids and I had an absolute fantastic time. And now, while my oldest daughter did walk for all of those shows, and she did a fantastic job, there was another individual who is my guest today that caught my attention. I said, "Oh my gosh, I gotta talk to this guy. I gotta have him on the show." He is a spoken word artist, but he also describes himself as a writer, a poet, and a performer. Using his words, it's like painting pictures with words. And so it is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Henry Morray. Henry, dude, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. That was a legendary introduction. Oh my gosh, I just get enamored by your voice, man. That was beautiful. Yes, thank you so much, James. Um, April was really a amazing month. So that was right, 237 Collective and Studio Sadia. Together they produced that show, and I was so privileged to be a part of it. I had met them. Um, Around the same time last year at an open mic, their first poetry open mic event, and we had just cultivated such a beautiful relationship since then. And the show itself was stellar. Like your daughter did an excellent job with the walks and the modeling. And so I had opened up the show. It was called Warning Signs, right? And
Yes.
it was a very like immersive, artistic, and political like experience mixed like in the style of a fashion show. And so I set the tone with my poem Eclipse. And yeah, and meeting you afterwards was honestly awesome because I you told me about your podcast, and I love writing, I love reading, I love poetry, I love art. Um, and so I was just excited to hop on this show. Um, I don't know if you want me to just tell the people a little bit about myself,
Well,
which I
yeah, well, that's what we're
mhm.
going to get into as far as a little Q&A session here. So, on the terms of writing, what inspired you to start your adventure in
Yes, that's a great question. So when my adventures in writing honestly first started as a reader, um, I remember when I was a kid, like this was around like third grade. We went to Walmart one night, and we were just going there for a shopping trip. I ended up getting a book there, and it was like Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So I got that book third grade. I was like, oh, you know, this
writing?
seems pretty cool, right? And that book's like on Greek mythology and this like band of teens and their journey. And so I got that book. I brought it home, and the next day I started that book in the morning and I ended it in the evening. I spent the entire day just sitting down reading, consuming that book. And so it was that book, and in combination, a few years later in fifth grade, there was this book called the Encyclopedia of World History, which just like fascinated me about world cultures, um, and diving more into history and reading. But really, it was the trigger of that book for me. Just kind of cascaded me into like really wanting to consume more and be curious about knowledge, and history later on as well. So I think my journey with writing first started with my love of words and love of reading. I would find myself just like the library would be my home, and I'd want to like analyze history and like just learn more than what was just being taught to me in school. But in terms of writing, writing for me really started as I guess where I first noticed my I had a knack or a skill for writing was really with birthday cards. So like like it when you're a kid, like you're broke and you when it's like your parents' birthday or something, it's like, okay, what do I really get for them? And so one thing I would do, like for my mom and stuff, I would just write these like elaborate birthday cards, and I'd get like so wordy with it, and uh, just like try to speak so like poetically and like just like serenade whoever I'm giving writing this birthday card for. And I would notice because I would do this for like my cousins and my mom. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like this young kid." I'm like in elementary, like, "Wow, like this is like really impressive." I'm like, okay. Um, and going through like school and things like that, I always uh, loved writing and things. But poetry for me didn't come until uh, college, actually. Like it was college where I was first truly introduced to poetry. It was one time in like seventh grade where like my teacher, I believe her name was Mrs. Molly. She was awesome. Seventh grade English teacher. She was like, "Hey, there's this American poetry competition. You should sign up for it." Um, and I was like, "You know what, Miss Molly, you're a real one. Thank you." And then the procrastinator in me waited till like the day before, and I was so stressed. I just like slapped something together, and it was about like Shakespeare, this poem on Shakespeare. It was really cringe, and it like I only knew poetry to me is like poetry is something if it rhymes. I just submitted it, and then poetry didn't. The boomerang of poetry didn't come back around to me until college, where there was this club. I went to Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa. There's this club, Lyrically Inclined, and I would go to the sessions like my freshman year, my sophomore year. There's this leader of the club who was also a rapper, and his name was Koi Fish. He was like, "Dude, you should join this club, man. Check it out." And it was pretty cool. And I was like, "Yeah, this is dope." But I only like kind of peeked in, peeked out, and it wasn't until um, sophomore year because it was COVID, and COVID had completely just decimated a bunch of clubs, and a lot of clubs were dying. A lot of clubs were dying. I'm like, Koi Fish came to me. He was like, "Bro," he had seen that I had like this knack for poetry and writing. He was like, "Listen,
Right.
man, I got like this club's gonna die. I gotta pass the torch to somebody." And he was like, "Will you accept?" I'm like, "What? Become the president of the club?" Uh, I was like, I mean, I can't let this club die. So I accepted. Little did I know that would like really change the trajectory of my life where um, I became the president of Lyrically Inclined. And in doing so, I would like advertise the club, like, "Hey, people, come, learn some poetry, like, write some poetry. Let's like during the sessions, we would analyze poets and then free write and discuss. But it was the people that I was inviting to the club. I heard their poems. I have these two friends, Archie and Emily, and I had heard their poetry in particular, and I was like, the way with which they formed their words and just expressed themselves, I was like, this is amazing, and they're doing it without rhyming. I'm the president of the club, and my poetry was limited to like like just like rhyming, and it just opened my eyes. Like, oh, free verse? Wait, what? That's a thing? It opened my eyes to like what poetry is and the interpretation of it. I had such a rigid view on poetry and spoken word. And so the people within the club that were coming in, not only, like not only were we getting inspired by the videos we'd watched, they were inspiring me. And then likewise, they were causing a growth in me that would inspire them. Um, and so it was through Lyrically Inclined and being the president of that club for my junior and senior year, uh, I really just grew in my craft of writing, and it was like my senior year. I went to Iowa City, and there was this poetry competition, UNESCO Cities of Literature, Slamovision. It was a global poetry competition, and uh, it's an international competition where like different cities across like UNESCO Cities of Literature across the world are competing, and then the winner of that competition in their local city submits their video internationally, and they're ranked. So our competition was in Iowa City, and honestly, I just saw like it was just like a poetry competition. Oh, this seems really cool, and so I came and uh, I competed. This was my first poetry slam, and a poetry slam is really just a poetry competition where it's like 3 rounds and you get 3 minutes to perform a poem. I brought some of the lyrically inclined people. I'm like, let's get exposure. We wanted to get more into the poetry scene, and I heard the poets there, and I told one of my friends as soon as I heard one of these poets speak, I'm like, yo, we might be in the wrong place, man. We might be in the wrong place. This is some tough competition, but somehow, I'm really grateful. I ended up actually winning that competition, and
Okay.
and that was I was very shocked, but like it was for me, it was so important because that was going to that competition. It was my gateway into Iowa City, and I had grown up most of my life in Cedar Rapids. I had moved from Maryland when I was like 7, then to Cedar Rapids. I hadn't really gone to Iowa City too much. But I was welcomed and embraced by this community of poets and the vibrant poetry scene in Iowa City, and I've made so many connections from then on out. And so I ended up representing Iowa City on the global stage. I got beat on the global stage. My video, you know, it didn't do as well as it did in Iowa City, but I ended up learning so much from that, and just like I was just like, okay, next time I know what I'm gonna do better. It gave me awareness on okay, who are you speaking to when you do a poem? Like who's your audience? And that audience was in Iowa City, but for the global stage, it's the world. So that's been my poetry journey, and now I'm living in the Quad Cities. Um, After work, after my like just regular job, I do a lot of like emceeing, or I'll go to poetry events, open mics. I help lead these like poetry sessions for youth in this program called Young Lions Roar, uh, where I collaborate with this poet, this amazing poet here in the Quad Cities named Aubrey Barnes. And so that's been my journey in a very long-winded uh, way.
That is quite the journey indeed, and I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. There was something you said earlier on that just made my heart smile. You said making your home in a library, if you could. I was like,
Hmm.
man, yeah, I know a lot of people who would love to do the same thing. Just give them some coffee or tea, maybe a campfire or two, bring them
Hmm.
snacks, but leave them be with their books and they're
Hmm. Hmm.
fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now, with your journey into writing and likewise storytelling with this free verse poetry, I got to be
Hmm.
honest, my view on poetry was incredibly rigid because
Hmm.
I too thought it had to rhyme, be it
Hmm.
in, I'm going to get the phrasing wrong, but where like, every other word rhymes or if it's that the Shakespearean sonnets where you
Hmm.
have the rhyming pattern of A B C D C D E F E F G G, and every line has 10 syllables. That one I can get on board with. But
Hmm.
then, like you said,
Hmm.
many years down the road, I hear this free verse. I'm like, that person didn't rhyme a single word in the last
Yeah.
paragraph or sentence. I'm like, but it still flows. And
Yeah.
my mind is very systematic and at times militaristic,
Hmm.
um, very much boxed thinking, and I often will get fussed at for it.
Hmm. Yeah.
and and I have to literally train myself in new areas to literally think outside the box. Like, okay,
Hmm.
so this works, but how? And then that causes me to study it and dive deeper and become more fascinated with it. And then, of
Hmm.
course, here you are, in the flesh when I saw you that one Saturday in April. I'm like, oh, here it is. Yeah, bring it on.
That's awesome.
So I'm completely enamored and completely appreciating what you do. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah, absolutely.
To note on that, just a quick note on that.
Sure.
There is something really cool once someone like once you get exposed to different styles, because there are different constraints and things like that that someone can impose. It's just like a sonnet or something like that, or there's a lot of different forms of poetry and styles, but I really do, I'm learning those because I want to have those in my repertoire. But I love free verse and just like not being restricted in any kind of way, because my ultimate goal for myself when I do poetry, is I want to paint a picture for the audience. I want to have like use their own mental faculties to help them create the picture. I don't have to do every single detail, but I want them to be immersed in the story and have it feel real and alive, and fluctuate my tones and use double entendres and just different poetic devices and repetitions and to keep attention throughout. And that's been a journey of kind of refining that over the years. So I love that, your kind of definition of poetry has been expanding too.
Yeah. And you brought an example to read for us today, like we talked about backstage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And what is your
Yes.
piece entitled that you've got for us?
So the name of this piece is called Animal Crackers.
Okay.
And this piece is a poem that is inspired by the word taxidermy. So taxidermy is the mounting or stuffing of an animal. So like if you see like a bear, just like a bear rug or something like that, or you see like, a deer mounted on a wall, like
Right.
deer head mounted on a wall, that's a taxidermy. And I was inspired to write this piece. Uh, I like my first ever Instagram post on my like main poetry Instagram. I was like, guys, just uh, give me a word, and in 24 hours, I'm gonna write a poem. Whenever I write, I'm just gonna post it. And so, just give me a word to inspire this poem. And there were a lot of words like equilibrium, concrete, bachata. Then there was one that said taxidermy. Like, a story started to form in my head. Um, and this poem is a two-part poem. I call them chapters, even though I've never read a book with just two chapters, but I call them chapters, and it's a narrative poem. So,
Okay.
and I'll start whenever.
Given that Henry is a spoken word artist, I actually asked him to record his spoken word segment, Animal Crackers, separately. That way I could incorporate it into the episode so you all, as the listeners, can hear it more clearly as it was meant to be heard. So, without any more jabbering about, here is Animal Crackers by Henry Morray. Please enjoy.
Animal Crackers, Chapter 1, Radio Silence. He likes Mary J. Blige too. But these days, the car radio has a song stuck on loop. Rings of smoke inflate John Doe's red truck like a hot air balloon. To be blunt, he packs his problems in a cigarette pack, Maybe then TSA will get his hopes up into the sky and past security. But these days, John Doe is a lot more insecure. He does a lot more hot boxing than out the box thinking. I'm thinking that John Doe is more of a John Do. Not disturb is what he should have put his phone on. But life has become a big turnoff, a cock block of construction signs against his rebellious spirit, detouring him on a Tour de France down to the backwoods. He slams his trunk. The road ahead of him has lost its wonder. It is long and unsavory, stretched out like an asphalt tongue darkened by tobacco. The song playing in the car radio takes him back, X amount of years. He bear hugs his age to his chest. Breathe in. Breathe out. In the backwoods, the car radio has a song stuck on loop. The DJ speaks hypnotically, counts you down into a trance. Catch the next train into the subconscious. The station number is 93.5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Animal crackers in my soup. Monkeys and rabbits, loop, loop. If your body is a temple, John Doe's body is a Shirley Temple, humming to this tune of childhood commercials, dancing offbeat to the white noise of nostalgia, thinking life seemed easier when things were black and white, fade to black. We are lucid. We peer into the memories of John Doe. Children are roughhousing in the playground. Their imagination soars like Spirit Airlines on a discount. Digits intertwine, a chain gang of school kids glaring each other down like the sun on a cowboy's hat. It's a duel. If looks could kill. Nah. If looks could be a movie genre, this would be a Western. True Grit. Red Rover, bring Johnny right over. I'm fawning over the image of a young John Doe breaking free from the front lines. More frail than a baby deer, I can hardly believe he used to shop at Toys R Us. He's a Taurus, charging in like a bull. I can see the passion fuming from his ears. Then he hears crash, bone on bone, flesh on flesh. His collision is the sound of two pancakes. He flips onto his back. The wall does not crack. He cannot get past the human chainmail. But his message is delivered. His efforts are applauded. Friends give him animal crackers, and he gets up, 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 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5:39 p.m. Wake up, John! He looks up from his phone. A deer in headlights is frozen on the road. You could almost hear it mouth. Red Rover, bring John Doe right over. If looks could be genres, this would be a thriller. Get out of the way! Radio silence. He breaks. Bones, the sound of a deer's neck snapping, turtle crunch, animal cracker, its spine cracks concaving to the shell of a truck, R.I.P., rip, goes to pieces of flesh, getting battered, pounded into a cake, baking on hot asphalt and concrete. The flavor is velvet, blood splatters like it was hired to create abstract art. His red truck receives a fresh paint job. Chapter 2. The Dead Animal Society. The local taxidermist conducted a miracle that night. Her name was Frankie. I suspect she's a distant relative of Frankenstein. She's a little more lively, though. Not the Lorax, but more like the Borax. She speaks for the dead. She hides behind hides and formaldehyde. She is an escape artist. The art is she won't let your soul escape your body. She's a magician, reanimating corpses to their former glory. Abracadabra. I remember the night the red truck ran me right over. Now I'm under a sea of darkness. The only light is emitting from a TV set and a fireplace. My antlers stretched like tentacles. I am suctioned to the wall of a rugged cabin. It is a hoarder's house. The stench of rotten eggs and dirty dishes litter the air. If you look up, you'll see my head mounted above a flat screen, looking through John Doe and his soul. He must have also broken my funny bone. He calls me John Deere. I'm his dearest obsession now. Forbidden fruit. He thinks I'm a fig, but I might be the figment of his imagination. I was the start of his coping mechanism. He has created a family, a dead animal society in the living room, anything to fill the void within himself. Within the rotting wooden walls of the cabin interior is a jungle, a zoo, a treehouse of taxidermy, birds pinned to the ceiling, fish nailed to the filthy sink, wolves on a leash guarding the door like the loyal dogs they are. To my left, a grizzly bear. To the left of John Doe is his medication. He keeps forgetting to take them after the accident. To my right is a snake. To his right is a hunting knife, where he tallies the days since his wife left him. He'll need a new desk. His salt and pepper beard shows him aging faster than Obama after a second term, but he has no Michelle. I gaze at the shell of a human. He's a snapping turtle. He's more bitter than ever. John Doe is in a flannel, checkered like his thoughts. His chest is filled with feelings towards his queen. Bishop takes Rook. Rookie mistake. He married her because she had a nice rack, so she took his rack of cash, took the kids, and left him with a rack of antlers, left him with nothing except those dead animals, nothing but a big check. Knight takes Bishop. To be frank, he had an affair breaking his vows, but as if he were a horseman of the apocalypse, he vows to rain hell fire down on the priest who blessed his marriage. Pawn takes Knight. He tried to go to the pawn shop to sell his soul because he doesn't know his worth. Possessed by his losses, he looks more like a taxidermy every day. Haunted by his mistakes, he grows beady-eyed. John Doe, you make my skin crawl. You make the hairs of my fur stand. You remind me of myself. You're just a deer in headlights. You're a taxidermized snake, unable to shed your skin, unable to grow. You're a fish out of water, but you can still find yourself. You're not Nemo. You're knee deep going up the creek without a paddle, so swim. The way I glare at you every day. If looks could kill, if looks could be a movie genre, this would be a documentary. It's not magic, it's just perspective. Abracadabra. In the evening, we come alive like night at the museum to remind you of how you used to dream when you were young. Let's get back to basics, back to elementary, cross multiplying, cross examining ourselves from the other side of the room. I'm tired of crossing my eyes while you crossed your heart to never make the same mistakes. Just sit crisscross, dip your animal crackers in applesauce, taste the nostalgia. And once you're done crisscrossing, crescendo, get back up slowly. It's okay if you fall, be a tumbleweed if you have to. Just get back up, stare down enemy lines like a Western film, and let them call your name once more. Red Rover, Red Rover, the game isn't over. Crack, a chink in the armor.
Outstanding. That was so good. Thank you so much for sharing that,
Thank you
James.
so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, James.
Oh, thank you. It's what I love about storytellers in general, especially when there is just so much heart and passion behind it. Because specifically for you, once you got into it, there was no question. A picture absolutely was painted with words. I could see the driver in the truck. I could see the animals. I could see the house in which everything took place.
Mm,
Beautiful. Well
mm.
done, sir.
That means a lot. I'm so grateful that picture was painted, man. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Is there any parting words you'd like to say to the listeners out there?
I think parting words would be one, thank you, big thank you to James, narrator James. Follow the podcast. You're doing amazing work here, and your voice is very enchanting to listen to. I just need more productions and things coming from you. And I think the second thing would be um, uh, I got a signature from a poet that I emceed for at an event recently. Asked for a signature, and he wrote, um, "Write, write often and write well." So I think that would be my parting words for people: write often, uh, and write well. And sometimes those two things don't seem like they go together. I would definitely say um, so many times when I write, it feels like I've forgotten how to write, and everything just feels like gunk coming out the faucet. But you just let that faucet run long enough, and that's just clean water coming out. So give yourself the chance to fail, for your work to look ugly. It's going to come out beautiful on the other end.
I love it. And for those of you who are out there listening and you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, I need to hear more of Henry, or better yet, if you want Henry to MC for you or hire him for your event, Henry, how can they best get a hold of you? Where are you at online?
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me on Instagram. So that's Henry Morray, HenryMorray. So at Henry Morray. Um, you could also email me, hmorayofficial. So just H and then my last name official at gmail.com. And then your boy's also on Facebook. um, but yes, Instagram will be the main one at Henry Morray.
Fantastic. And I'll go ahead and make sure I have the Instagram link in the show notes. So that way, if you didn't quite have a pen and paper handy to write it down fast enough, no worries. I got you. So that way you can just click, follow the link, and likewise follow Henry and watch everything he does to increase his love and his passion for freelance poetry. Henry, once again, thank you so much for being on the show today. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you, James. It was my honor. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Idiosyncratic Fables. Once again, this is a platform that I've created simply for anybody willing to share their story, because everybody's got a story to share, and I want to hear yours. So until I talk to you next time, peace be with you.